Radio.
6 Music.
You are now entering Parallel Universe. And wipe your feet on the way in.
Marc Riley, BBC 6 Music.
Brilliant record, brilliant band, Supergrass, we don't play him enough really. Richard III, I'm Marc Riley. Whilst in Beverley, we have got Mr. Bobby Hughes. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. I really enjoyed that Courtney Barnett session, by the way. It was terrific, that.
It was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was.
You know, I keep throwing Beverley in there, but it's in Yorkshire, isn't it, Bob?
East Yorkshire, East Riding to be precise, Mark. I think you're a little bit scatty there with you. You know, I think you're using Yorkshire as a large generalisation for where I am.
So do I.
Fair enough. I know it's deliberate. Anyway, should we get to it?
Better, I'd say.
We're looking at Melody Maker here. 11th of October 1997. In the news, Oasis have announced a string of Christmas gigs culminating in 3 nights at Wembley Arena. The band are hoping not to see any of the people who disrupted their recent shows in Exeter, Earls Court and Birmingham by pointing laser pens at their eyes. The persistent nuisance led to some spectacular 4-letter outbursts from Liam, and a spokesman for the band told Melody Maker last week that their feelings about the owners of the pens could best be summed up by Noel's question to the crowd at Earls Court: what kind of effing moron pays £19 for a ticket just to have a go at us? Other bands, including Radiohead, have reported seeing laser pens in venues around the country. It was such a strange phenomenon, this. I know it still goes on in various kind of football formats, doesn't it, across the globe. I wonder where it all started.
Well, I mean, I heard a story going back years, and I don't think it's apocryphal, of a pilot, you know, because, I mean, they go forever, those lasers, don't they? Naturally.
They do.
And, like, pilots being, you know, in helicopters and stuff, being attacked by them. So, yeah, pretty grisly stuff.
Totally. It says here, the use of laser pens seems to have originated, to answer my own question, at football matches, crossed over into rock music. Vinnie Jones had a laser shone on the back of his head at a Wimbledon-Leicester City game.
Right, okay.
Meanwhile, Noel Gallagher has been forced to change the Supernova Heights sign at his humble North London home, apparently, after his neighbours, including Bob Hoskins, complained about it.
Probably not that humble, eh? I mean, he'd already earned a few quid, and if your neighbour's Bob Hoskins...
Definitely. It just reminded me of that spat. I don't know whether it's still going on or whether it got resolved a few years ago between Robbie Williams and Jimmy Page. Weren't they next door neighbours, weren't they, in wherever it was they lived? Yeah. Didn't get along very well.
They didn't.
Kylie Minogue brought the traffic in Camden to a standstill when she opened Tower Records' new London store last week. At least 500 fans and a scrum of 40 photographers jostled for position outside the doors, and barriers were hastily put in place as Kylie turned up for the 1 p.m. ribbon-cutting ceremony. She then took a position behind the counter and served half a dozen lucky customers who'd been plucked from the crowd and ushered inside. A Tower spokesman said she's only a little, you could just about see her above the till. I wondered, was this around the time that she started doing idents for your show? It'd be 97?
Yeah, it would have been. They were for the afternoon show, I think. But the plot at the time was the fact that, we got Kylie to do the jingles, and Radio 1 weren't interested in it at all at that point in time. So it was before this madness. Yeah, so it would have been before that, I'm presuming. And because of the fact that we had her on for the jingles, when she did crack it, really, for the second time round and got massive, the only show that she would do was Mark Radcliffe and myself, and then Radio 1 were not best pleased at all. But she used to come on quite regular, and yeah, she was great, still is, I assume. Not seen her for a while.
Yeah, I remember it. How did that even start? How did you get in touch in the first place?
I can't remember.
That's
a long time ago, mate.
So I'd ask. Also in the news, Sparkle Horse main man Mark Linkous has faxed Melody Maker with a handwritten attack on EMI for blatant exploitation of Radiohead's Tom York. It says York features on the Sparkle Horses cover of Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, which is included on EMI's 100th centenary celebration compilation. And Linkous is furious that this fact is emblazoned on the album cover and wrote a letter. Said, to all Sparkle Horse and especially Radiohead fans, please accept my humble apology for EMI's blatant exploitation of Tom's fame by printing Sparkle Horse featuring Tom York on the cover of the compilation. Most of the performance, he says, the bits we used were of Tom playing his hotel room television, and this was recorded over the phone. Another example, he says, of commerce coming before art. Yours truly, Mark Linkous, a spokesman for Parlophone, apologises. I kind of mentioned this really because I wanted to mention the fact that there is a Mark Linkous documentary on the way called This Is Sparkle Horse, which I found out this week, which you've got Grandaddy on there, I think, David Lynch, John Parrish, Mercury Rev, Adrian Utley. So about time, really, because he is still, obviously he's not with us anymore, but he is still such an under-celebrated talent, I think.
Completely, yeah, a wonderful man as well. I met him on a few occasions, and we talked about the documentary with Liz on America Calling earlier in the week. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I should have been listening.
You should.
Also in the news, Fountains of Wayne singer-guitarist Chris Collingwood has become the latest victim of injured leg syndrome, the affliction sweeping the music world. Chris jumped up to kick Brian Young's drum kit on stage in Berlin, and as he landed, he dislocated his knee. This is exactly what happened to Symposium's Ross Cummins at Brixton Academy the other week. After treatment in Germany, Collingwood arrived in the UK for gigs in Liverpool and Bradford, which he performed on crutches decorated on the back with reflectors. He went on to say the accident happened on the very last chord of the very last song. He said, Brian actually doesn't like it much when I kick his drum, so he's had very little sympathy for me. There is a lesson here, isn't there?
Yeah, don't kick drum kits, definitely.
Exactly, yeah, silly. And Ben Myers, now a famous author, of course.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Ben. Goes to Whitby to check out what's happening at Drakfest 97, a goth festival to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the publication of Bram Stoker's Dracula. He says, after 8 hours, we arrive in a field and head backstage to interview Christian Death, which is a Lost Boys-esque troupe from America. He asked the leader, Valo, how the gig went, and he says, we thought there were going to be about 10,000 people, so it was a bit dismal, only seeing 2,000 for a goth festival. And the local chief inspector is interviewed, and he says, it's all a bit of an unknown quantity. We have goths coming here on their own pilgrimages to the Whitby Abbey, where Dracula stayed on his arrival in England, but nothing on this scale. It is we were there like a couple of weeks ago, and I think the festival was last weekend, I believe.
Right.
And I saw lots of pictures from it. So this became like an annual event, didn't it, quite quickly?
There's always goths and steampunks and knocking about in Whitby, but there was something on Twitter the other week which made me laugh, which is a little handwritten sign in a doorway in Whitby saying, please do not come in and ask us where Dracula's buried. He doesn't exist. I don't know how many people's dreams were punctured at that point, but it did make me laugh.
What a terrible shame.
Excuse me, can you tell me where Dracula's buried? That's great.
It reminds me, well, I know Arthur Brown played Drakfest at one point, didn't he? And he had to go and see the vicar, the priest of the local church, to sort of get it kind of okayed in the first place, because obviously God of Hellfire and all that kind of stuff. It was explaining it's all a big show, and Razzmatazz and the rest. And the priest said to him, I saw you in like 1969 playing live, and you're the reason I turned to the priesthood in the first place.
Wow. Ain't that great?
Oh,
bless him.
Anyway, Sleep is out.
Okay. So we're going to play Robert Wyatt?
We are, yes.
Okay, Free Will and Testament.
Given free will, but within certain time.
A Thing of Great Beauty, Free Will and Testament by Robert Wyatt. A Thing of Great Beauty, Rob Hughes in Yorkshire somewhere.
Oh, I was expecting that one. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, mate.
We're looking at Melody Maker, 11th of October 1997. Jill Furmanovsky has a new photo exhibition, Was There Then, that captures the essence of Oasis. Melody Maker says the exhibition of 3 years of Oasis photographs is as close as you'll get to understanding Oasis, particularly the Gallaghers, without actually going drinking with them. Even then, you'd be doing well to make the subtle, highly illuminating observations which her photographs make. The most fascinating aspect of her exhibition is the exposure of the dynamic between Liam and Noel. Rather than a confident, self-assured prima donna, Liam comes across slightly insecure, forever seeking his older brother's approval, etc., and talks about the dynamic, maybe Noel as a father figure growing up. But Jill Furmanovsky is a really interesting character, wasn't she? And she took those great picture that she took of the Fall at Band on the Wall, a famous one.
Yeah, that was my first ever gig, actually.
Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, she studied at St Martin's. Her first job, I think, was she was official photographer at the Rainbow Theatre, and then she got into taking pictures of bands, and she did like Dylan. There's a great profile picture she did of Charlie Watts. Have you seen that one? There's lots of like Bob Marley, some really iconic shots. Brilliant.
Part of my ignorance, did she take the cover of London Calling as well? Paul Simonon smashing the bass?
No, that was Penny Smith, I think, wasn't it? I think, yeah. There is, I mentioned this as well because there is a documentary in the works about Jill Furmanovsky as well, which is due very soon. Melody Maker reports from Glasgow's In the City showcase. There's an unsigned bands roundup where Clinic are declared the best unsigned band of the weekend. It says, starting with the rocketing song IPC sub-editors dictate our youth. They remind us that all you really need for a big night out in 1997 are clanging Velvet's riff, squalling organ, the Be My Baby beat, and some gutter snipe candy melodies.
A wonderful band, Clinic, aren't they? And I do remember it was a little bit like when Kiss didn't use the makeup makeup and everybody went bonkers. And so I went to see them playing at the Manchester University, and they didn't have the clobber on, you know, the scrubs, the hospital gear. And I was horrified. It transpired that it had all been nicked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they had to be unleash their identities just for one night.
Oh, when you say you're horrified, what were you horrified at?
The fact that they weren't in the clobber, mate. It's like I say, you go and see.
Fair enough.
If you're daft enough to go and see Kiss, no offence to anybody, you want to see some makeup, don't you? Some slap.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, the sales went right down, didn't they, when they got rid of the slap?
Of course
that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
Across town in Glasgow, Grandaddy playing the Renfrew Ferry, where you can actually use Monopoly money, it says, to pay for drinks at the bar. Still very much an unknown quantity.
Right.
97. The first surprise of the weekend is Grandaddy, says Melody Maker, a collection of beards from California, or at least 3 of them sport beards. They play toxic surf music like a bad trip Beach Boys after years of chemical abuse. Close harmonies swim in polluted waters, guitars twang through sewage, keyboards swallow the ocean cocktail by the mouthful before mutating the whole thing into green-faced, Hawaiian-shirted beach bum music. That doesn't capture the beauty of Grandaddy at all.
I mean, halfway through that paragraph, I was like, yeah, this is really good. And then you're like, okay, mate. And then, all right, leave it. And then, oh, bloody hell. What's wrong with you?
Completely went off course. And also, Teenage Fan Club at Glasgow Barrowland, supported by Corner Shop. Melody Maker basically saying that everybody loves Teenage Fan Club. Pop's is about excitement, but Teenage Fan Club may not be about that, but just about making warm memories and connecting with friends.
Okay, we're going to play Ain't That Enough now.
We are.
Teenage Fan Club, Ain't That Enough? Mark Riley, Bob Hughes, Parallel Universe.
Yeah, we're looking at Melody Maker here, the 11th of October 1997. Always reminds me of your breakfast show, that tune.
Yes, I know what you mean, mate.
Gigs of the week this week got Super Furries at Newcastle Riverside, Spiritualised at Sheffield University, Paul McCartney, slushy Beatles bloke, it says in brackets, at the Royal Albert Hall. So that was at a time where his stocks hadn't kept risen with the music press, had it? He was still always getting a bit of a pasting.
Well, it was that thing, you've got to ride that period of your career out and then you are a legend again, aren't you? And he's that all right.
Totally. Smog at the Attic in Edinburgh, epic soundtracks at the Mean Fiddler in Harlesden. You've got Hawkwind at Norwich University, The Egg at Bath University, Teenage Fan Club at Reading University, Comic Gain at the Albert in Brighton, Black Grape at Doncaster Dome, the Beta Band at the Jazz Cafe in London, Earl Brutus at Exeter Cavern, and Sunvolt at Glasgow King Tut's. On the live review front, Terry Hall at the Hanover Grand in London. As sellout crowds go, tonight verges dangerously on the polite. This is more like the Dog and Duck on a Saturday night with a gentle hubbub of those indulging in conversation. But Terry Hall is the king of understatement and the lord of irony, and you can bet he'll be taking a sneaky peek and grinning from ear to ear at such a low-key crowd. A Terry Hall show, it goes on, is basically stand-up comedy with a few pop songs chucked in for good measure. 2 Ariels got married, he deadpans. The wedding was terrible, but the reception was fantastic. I hadn't heard that one before, though.
I haven't heard that. I love Terry Hall. He's great.
There probably isn't time to go into the review of Einsturz Neubauten, but they did have a spinning wheel that looked like Wheel of Fortune that made a very high-pitched noise.
Good on him. Right, okay, so we've mentioned Grandaddy. We're going to play them, aren't we? All right, Bob, yes. Say thanks to you and everybody else involved in the programme, Courtney Barnett and the band, and Emily and Michelle and Perfect Peter and Gaz and Hobbers. And we'll see you Monday night. Got Mr. Ben and the Bens live in session. Giddy's next, and ta-ta.
Prepare to exit the parallel universe.
Marc Riley, BBC 6 Music.
And shut the door on your way out.